The presidential election is over in the U.S., but some of the same themes may be on the presidential ballot next year in France. Analysts comparing the language in the race to the UK's Brexit vote and President-elect Trump's victory across the Atlantic. Alain Juppé, Marine Le Pen, and former President Nicolas Sarkozy now are the likely frontrunners. Le Pen influencing the tone of the race with a far-right nationalist platform. Bring in now Hugh Dugan. He's a professor of diplomacy at Seton Hall University, a U.S. diplomat, and senior advisor to 11 ambassadors to the United Nations from 1989 to 2015. Professor, really good to have you here.
Thank you.
Sure. So, of course, all eyes on the U.S. and Brexit. I want to see if you can do some forecasting now in terms of the fallout in success and in failure.
There are those who think that Marine Le Pen, the candidate in France on the National Front, is being emboldened by Donald Trump's victory here because of the populist themes that he was able to raise. However, there's a great deal of difference between our two countries. Although we both shared a revolution based on the same principles, the French have taken a very different approach to their secular society. They feel that they need to be extremely secular, whereas in America we chose "In God We Trust." In France they were independent not only of the monarch, but they also declared independence of God. So when they see a foreign element, a religious identity, in particular the Muslim and other ethnic minorities coming into their country, they're fearful of the sanctity, so to speak, of their secular state.
Is that valid?
Well, in the French mindset, of course, they fought their revolution as we did against the monarch. We could use the word globalization today in replacing the word monarch, because the monarch and globalization seem to have undue effects on those of us down in the trenches. And
so then, Professor, as you know, the global community continues to grow, how likely would it be for more countries to take on a nationalist or populism stance?
Well, populism is born of the fact that perhaps we're seeing our opportunities back home in hometown America shrink because of our interconnectedness in the world. So globalization is necessary to keep the world going as it is today. We have to temper it. We have to understand its limits and how far the effects might go in our households. So I don't see that a call for isolationism is really taking place in America. I think it's a call to redo some of the bad deals that have happened. So to the extent that Le Pen is anti-immigration, anti-ethnicity, anti-trade, I don't think it's fair to say that she's emboldened by Donald Trump, who's really, at the end of it, only anti-bad deals for America. He's willing to look forward, and I think she's willing to look backwards, trying to secure a secular-based society there in the loom because of the threats that she sees looming on the horizon.
Well, Donald Trump won. He won on that very issue that he campaigned on. One of them that he says, look, he wants to make America great again. That includes making the economy strong and getting rid of the bad deals. You know, and with that in mind, as again the global community continues to grow, if you start to rope off countries, though, as we just started out and talking about France, how does that impact the global economy? Because it is intertwined.
Yes. Well, the success of the world society since World War II has been that we've built up an interdependence among countries.
Right.
The United Nations has celebrated its 70th anniversary last year, and this interdependence means we have more to lose by harming each other than ever before. So I believe that globalization, to that extent, is very healthy for America and the world in its security. Roping off countries, I don't think anyone can really become an autarky anymore. Their people have cell phones. They can go online, and they're virtually transnational without borders. Geography is less relevant in all of our lives these days. So roping off is like trying to get off the grid. As much as you try, I'm sure it's not going to happen.
Right. And that's what we're talking about here, though, because you have, you know, some of the right-wing parties there in France being, you know, winning the race at the moment. It's not official yet because the election hasn't happened, but they are saying kind of take back their nationalistic, you know, nationalism, if you will, being sort of, you know, secular and sort of one nation, you know, unity sort of thing. So, you know, and again, that's what, you know, folks in America wanted, which is why they chose Donald Trump to concentrate on this country. So is that possible, those who, you know, Donald Trump's going to make better deals for the country, for our country. Other presidents and world leaders want to make better deals for their country. So Can all of those things happen and keep that interdependency that you spoke about?
I think so. I believe that the anti-message in France right now, unfortunately, is really authentically anti. They think that the solution is to preclude and rope off, perhaps, cultural elements or other things that have challenged their identity. Over the last 150 years, France has been sidelined more or less from world affairs than most other countries, having suffered occupation in world wars. And now they feel this being sidelined within their country by elements that seem to squeeze them out. So I think it's very unique to France, this phenomenon. But to the extent other countries are going to call for a retreat from globalization, I think what we need to do is to identify its positive properties, identify its toxicities, and maintain some balance between the two so that we can proceed in an interdependent world.
Professor Hugh Dugan, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much. Nice to talk to you. Okay.